book. So, yeah, I think more appropriate to go there. All right, Rambam. We begin today the third book. It's actually the third chapter of the day, but we're going to go straight there. The laws governing fourth book, actually. My apologies. Fourth book, yeah. Okay. Instruction of the wise is the source of life, diverting one from deathly pitfalls. Ooh. Chapter 1 of Ishus. The book of laws governing relations with women, the fourth book. It contains 5 halachas, and they are in order. Hilchos Ishus, the laws of marriage. Hilchos Gershon, the laws of divorce. Hilchos Yibum Mechalitza, the laws pertaining to Yibum Mechalitza. Hilchos Naira Besula, the laws pertaining to a virgin maiden. Hilchos Soita, the laws pertaining to a Soita. Okay, laws of marriage. They contain 4 mitzvahs, 2 positive and 2 negative commandments. 1 is to marry a woman, granting her the rights of formal marriage contracts, ksuba, as it's called, marriage contract, sanctifying the relationship through the rights of kiddushin. Number 2, not to have relations with a woman unless she has been granted a marriage contract and the relationship has been sanctified through the rights of kiddushin. Number 3, not to deny her food, clothing, and marital relations. And number 4, to be fruitful and multiply. Those are the 4 mitzvahs. Okay, these mitzvahs are explained in the following chapters. Number 1, before the Torah was given, when a man would meet a woman in the marketplace and he and she decided to marry, he would bring her home, conduct relations in private, and thus make her his wife. Once the Torah was given, the Jews were commanded that when a man desires to marry a woman, he must acquire her as a wife in the presence of witnesses. Only after this does she become his wife. This is alluded to in the verse, a man takes a wife and is intimate with her. Okay, number 2, the process of acquisition fulfills one of the Torah's positive commandments. By the way, it's interesting. It sounds very transactional over here, acquisition, right? On some level, it is on the halachic level, it is acquisitional. A man, Adam, a part of him was taken away to create Eve. From his side, she was made, right? She was made from him. So he's acquiring back that which is a part of him, right? That's also the idea of 2 halves of one soul that are being reunited. They were united before they came down into this world. The souls above came into this world not knowing each other. 2 halves of one soul being reunited. So there's a process here of an acquisition spiritually and in the effect of how woman was made from the side of man, right? And also acquisition is, in the end, he has the responsibility is upon him. He has the responsibility. Even for fruitful and multiply, it's his responsibility. As we will learn, she doesn't have the mitzvah. He does. The different explanation we'll go, I'm not going to go into right now, but just even that, idea of acquisition. So he has to acquire the mitzvah even, right? She doesn't have to acquire, you know why? Because she's the embodiment of it. She's the embodiment of marriage. She's the embodiment of having children. So therefore, she doesn't have to acquire it. That's why he gives something. What does he do? He gives a ring. He gives something. What does she give? What does she give?
Children.
No. In marriage, what does she give? Her finger. Right? She gives her, it's this finger under the chuppah, meaning she's giving her very self. He's giving something. Right? She's giving her very self.
Oh.
That's why I'm saying she's the embodiment of the marriage. She's the embodiment of fruitful and multiply. Right. That's who she is. Right. And that's why when you get married, that's what you look for. Who's the embodiment of this? Not someone who is like, who arouses me. No. Who, is an embodiment of what marriage is and what children is. That's what it means. But that, now we can appreciate a little bit what we're doing over here. And in the term of acquisition, the process of acquiring wives is formulated in 3 ways. Through the transfer of money, which today that's a ring, value of money, right? Through the transfer of formal document, which we don't do that today, and through intimate relations, we also don't do that today. Others, you could get married through an act of intimacy, right? For the sake of marriage, right? But we're not allowed to, we don't do that today. Well, we're going to learn that. The effectiveness of intimate relations and transfer of formal document have the origin in Torah itself, while the effectiveness of transfer of money is a rabbinic in origin. So today we only do the rabbinic thing. We give the value of money, a ring, but not a document, even though biblically you could, or intimate relations.
But that's not what is the Ketubah.
No. Tuba is the man's responsibility to the wife. That's not creating marriage. Doesn't create marriage, right? And the only reason we read it today is to separate between the two parts of marriage. We're talking about kiddushin here now, betrothal,
Okay.
right? Right? Acquisition is betrothal. Or it's going to say the process of acquisition is universally referred to as erison, betrothal, or kiddushin, consecration. And a woman's acquired in any of these three ways is referred to as mekudeshes or mureses, right?
So
But they're not living together. They're not living yet together. It's you give the ring, you are now betrothed, right? By giving the ring, you're betrothed. You can't live together yet.
Right.
That's chuppah. We do the two things together now. That's why we have the separation of the ksuba, just kind of separate between the two parts. But if you didn't read the ksuba, are you married? Yeah. She has to have the ksuba to remain married because that is her rights.
So
Right.
I just want clarification. What we're doing here in terms of the
Huh?
It's basically what we would call the engagement.
What?
What is called an engagement. So they're
Yeah, but engagement today is not your no, because if you have relations outside of the after betrothal, if you have relations, you could get the death penalty. He and she both could get the death penalty because they're considered two halves of one soul being reunited,
Okay.
right? But they can't live together yet, even though but one of the ways is intimate relations, right? You can only have it once and never again until the chuppah. Again, we'll see. I don't know if we'll get there today, but you can't do that today. Not only can't do it, if someone did do it, the law would, we'll see it, a person would get stripes for it, rabbinic stripes, because, okay, once the process of acquisition has been formalized and a woman is being mikudeshet, she is considered as married, even though the marriage bond has not been consummated and she has not entered her husband's home. Should anyone other than her husband engage in intimate relations with her, he is liable to be executed by the court. If the husband desires to divorce her, he must compose a get, a formal bill of divorce. Yes, that, right? Before the Torah was given, when a man would meet a woman in the marketplace and he and she desired, he could give her payment to engage in relations with her whenever they desired and then depart. Such a woman is referred to as a harlot. When the Torah was given, relations with a harlot became forbidden. Right? They shall not be a harlot among the children of Israel. Therefore, a person who has relations with a woman for the sake of lust without kedushin receives lashes as prescribed by the Torah because you have relations with a harlot. You're not allowed to. Harlot means, actually, it's interesting that he says this over here at the end. Before it was, you paid for it, right? Now, he didn't say over here that you paid for it. You just had out of lust relations, and that would be considered a harlot. So I'm not certain it means here. I don't think it means that you even paid for it. In other words, you can only have relations with someone who you're married with. Otherwise, it's considered like a harlot. Whenever it is forbidden to engage in relations from the Torah, and engaging in relations makes one liable for kares, forbidden relations mentioned in Parshas Achri Mos, such as this week's Torah portion, by the way, as a person's mother, his sister, his daughter, and the like. These relations are called arayas, and each particular forbidden relation is called an erba. Right? In other words, these are things that you cannot They're forbidden relations, which means you can't marry that person, right? And that's not only is it the relationship is forbidden, meaning the intimacy, but not just intimacy, but the marriage, right? You want to marry your sister, you can't marry your sister, right? Can't marry whatever forbidden relations. Your daughter-in-law. Let's say someone's son passed away, right? And now she's free. You can't marry that person, tsugizun, right? There are people that you're not allowed to marry, and therefore you're not allowed to have relations with. It's two separate things, right? In other words, you could have illicit relations with someone who you could marry, right? It's a separate thing. You can marry this person, but you had relations not for the sake of, for marriage or of marriage, right? So it's two separate ideas.
Like, or to the people who you just kind of marry.
Exactly. Okay. Unfortunately, I have to stop here. I would love to continue, but to go to a Shiva house right now. All right. Thank you, folks. Amazing. Wow.
¿Hablas español?
No, I was gonna ask you.
My Spanish was better when I was